Welcome back to another visual analysis. Today, we are tackling a massive goal. We're going to fundamentally change how you view your daily struggles. We're talking about something that affects literally every single one of us. And honestly, the data we're looking at today is going to turn everything you thought you knew completely upside down. We are going to learn how to make stress your friend. Let's get right into it.
So I want you to just honestly reflect on this for a second. How much stress have you experienced in the last year? Was it, a relatively low amount, maybe a moderate amount? Or if I asked you to raise your hand right now, if you've experienced a lot of stress, would your hand shoot straight up? Because if so, my hand is right up there with you. Stress really just feels like this universal, totally unavoidable burden, doesn't it? But that brings us to a pretty shocking confession from a very prominent health psychologist, Dr. Kelly McGonigal. Quote, "I fear that something I've been teaching for the last 10 years is doing more harm than good. I've turned stress into the enemy." Think about that. For years, the universally accepted expert advice, the stuff doctors and psychologists have been telling us forever, is that stress makes you sick. We've been told it causes everything from the common cold to heart disease, right? We've basically been trained to view it as the ultimate villain. But what if that perspective isn't just wrong, but actually dangerous?
Section 1, the unexpected confession. It really is time we start rethinking stress. So let's look at the research that shattered the traditional medical paradigm. Okay, what's really fascinating here is the story behind this 43%. Researchers did this massive 8-year study tracking 30,000 adults in the US. They asked them, how much stress have you experienced? But critically, they also asked, do you believe that stress is harmful to your health? Then, they actually used public death records to see who passed away. Now, here's the bad news. People who experienced a lot of stress had a 43% increased risk of dying. But wait, here is the absolute game changer. That 43% increase only applied to the people who believed that stress was harmful to their health. Seriously, the people who experienced a ton of stress but didn't view it as harmful, they actually had the lowest risk of dying out of anyone in the entire study, even lower than the people who had very little stress. Researchers estimate that over the 8 years they tracked these deaths, 182,000 Americans died prematurely, not from stress itself, but literally from the belief that stress was bad for them. I mean, that averages out to over 20,000 deaths a year. To put that staggering number into perspective, if that estimate is accurate, the mere belief that stress is bad for you was the 15th leading cause of death in the United States during that time. That belief alone ended up killing more people than skin cancer, more than HIV/AIDS, and even more than homicide. It's absolutely mind-blowing. Changing your mind about stress can quite literally save your life. But, how does that actually work? How does a shift in your mindset physically change your biology? Let's explore that in Section 2, the stress test. To understand the mechanics of this, we're going to look at a really fascinating Harvard study. Just imagine being a participant in a study designed specifically to make you panic. It's called the social stress test. Step 1, you get pulled into a lab and forced to give a 5-minute impromptu speech about your deepest, darkest personal weaknesses. And you're doing this under bright, hot lights with a camera shoved in your face, presenting to a panel of expert evaluators who are literally trained to give you devastating, hostile, nonverbal feedback. We're talking eye rolls, heavy sighs, looks of sheer disappointment. Ouch, right? Well, once your ego is completely crushed, congratulations, you move to step 2, a live math test. You have to count backward out loud from 996 in increments of 7 as fast as possible, all while an evaluator is actively harassing you for going too slow. Honestly, just thinking about it makes my own heart race. Now, normally, if your heart is pounding and you're sweating during a torture session like that, you interpret it as anxiety, right? A clear sign that you're failing to cope. But in this Harvard study, before participants were put through the ringer, they were taught a completely different mindset. The crucial point is this. They were taught to reinterpret their body's signals. They were told, hey, a pounding heart is just your body preparing you for action. That faster breathing, it isn't panic. It's just your body purposefully sending extra oxygen to your brain so you can think sharper. Basically, they were taught to view their stress response as incredibly helpful. And the results? Absolutely phenomenal. Not only did these participants feel way more confident and less anxious, but their physical cardiovascular response actually changed. See, when you view stress as the enemy, your blood vessels constrict. That's why chronic stress is linked to heart disease. It is terrible to stay in that constricted state. But when participants viewed stress as helpful, their blood vessels stayed completely relaxed. Their hearts were still pounding, sure, but in a remarkably healthy way. In fact, this biological profile is identical to the state you're in when you experience moments of deep joy or immense courage.
Over a lifetime, that tiny biological shift from constricted to relaxed could literally be the difference between a stress-induced heart attack at age 50 and living a happy, healthy life well into your 90s. Which brings us to Section 3, the secret of oxytocin. Guys, there is a massive biological plot twist here regarding this famous hormone.
You've probably heard of oxytocin. It's famously been hyped up as the cuddle hormone because, it's released when we hug someone. It fine-tunes our brain's social instincts, increases empathy, and basically makes us crave physical contact with friends and family. But here is the definition you really need to remember. Oxytocin is a literal stress hormone. Yep, during a stressful event, your pituitary gland pumps the stuff out right alongside adrenaline. Why? Because your biological stress response is actually designed to compel you to seek social support. Your body physically nudges you to tell someone how you feel, rather than just bottling it all up. It wants you surrounded by people who care about you when life gets tough.
And this just brilliantly illustrates how incredible our bodies are, because oxytocin doesn't just work on the brain. It works on the rest of the body too. The biological benefits are completely wild. It acts as a natural anti-inflammatory. It helps keep those blood vessels relaxed during stress. But the craziest part? Your heart actually has special receptors specifically for oxytocin. When it reaches your heart, it helps heart cells regenerate and literally heals the microscopic damage caused by stress. Your stress response actually has a built-in mechanism for stress resilience, and that mechanism is human connection. Reaching out for help or even just helping someone else releases more oxytocin, which physically strengthens your heart. How cool is that?
This leads us perfectly into Section 4, the power of connection, and how we actually go about building true resilience.
To prove this isn't all just theory, researchers tracked about 1,000 adults, ranging from ages 34 to 93. They asked them about the stressful experiences in their lives, but they also asked, how much time did you spend helping out friends, neighbors, or people in your community? And once again, they checked the public death records 5 years later. First, let's look at the baseline danger. As you'd probably expect, experiencing major stressful life events, like severe financial difficulty or a major family crisis, increase the risk of dying by 30%.
But here is where the magic happens. 0%. For the people who spent time caring for others, who really engaged in that human connection, the stress-related increase in dying was completely erased. 0. Caring for others created absolute biological resilience. The harmful effects of stress on your health are just not inevitable. How you think and how you act can profoundly, physically transform your experience of stress.
Moving on to Section 5, choosing a meaningful life, because it really all comes down to embracing stress. We really don't have to view stress as this toxic enemy that we just have to hide from. Ultimately, stress gives us access to our hearts, the compassionate heart that finds joy in connecting with others, and the physical, beating heart that works tirelessly to give you the energy and strength to face down challenges. When you choose to view your stress response as helpful, you are quite literally creating the biology of courage. And when you choose to connect with others under stress, you're creating biological resilience. You are reminding yourself that you never, ever have to face life's challenges alone.
I want to leave you with this final, truly profound thought. Chasing meaning is better for your health than trying to avoid discomfort. If you try to build a life with zero stress, you'll probably just build a life completely devoid of meaning. Instead, go after the things that bring meaning to your life and trust yourself and your body's brilliant, built-in biology to handle the stress that follows. So what does this all mean for you? Next time your heart starts pounding and your breath quickens before a major challenge, you have a choice to make. Will you let panic tell you that you're failing, or will you step up, knowing your body is brilliantly arming you to conquer the world?